This webinar is Enhancing an Online Quantitative Research Course Through Increased Interaction. And we have two faculty members who will be leading us through this session today. And this was one of our sessions that was offered at our faculty meeting that was held over the summer. And we wanted to bring this session to you all in a virtual format so that way those who weren't able to attend in the face-to-face session were able to do so through this webinar. So our presenters today will be Dr. Evelyn Johnson, who is a contributing faculty in the PhD in Education program, and Dr. Robert Kilmer, who is contributing faculty in the PhD in Management program. So they will be leading us through the presentation, and I will turn things over to them in just a moment. Before I do that, I just want to do a couple of housekeeping items with how to use the GoToWebinar toolset. If you look on the left side of the screen, you'll be seeing the full control panel that should look like the control panel you have on the right side of your screen. This is the maximized view of the control panel. If you don't have that and instead it looks like this, which is the control panel that's been collapsed into minimized view, all you have to do is just click the button again. And then once you do that, the full control panel will return back to you. A couple things you may want to do to make sure your system is fully ready to participate today is click the audio setup link. This will check both your microphone and your speakers to ensure they're working well with GoToWebinar. Don't worry, when you do the microphone test, it won't be broadcast out through the room. It'll just go through the test system. A couple ways you can ask questions and participate, and where we'll put links to resources is the first one is through the questions area, where you'll see links to the closed captioning, feedback survey at the end, and other resources. If you have a question that you want to ask the presenters, just put it in through the bottom there and then click the send button, and the question will come to us. If you want to ask your question out loud, just click the raise hand button, and once you do that, we will unmute you so that you can ask your question. I have put everyone's microphone on mute just to cut down on any background noise so that we can clearly hear the presenters. If you have any technical support difficulties, please use the 800 number you see on the screen, and the tech support team should be able to help you from GoToWebinar, and it is live tech support. We will be recording today's session, and we will send out after the session both the recording link and a link to the PowerPoint presentation. Closed captioning link is in the questions area now, so you can look at that if you want to follow along that way. And as I mentioned, we will include an evaluation link at the end of the session. So that's a quick primer of how to use the tools today, and look forward to your engagement throughout the session. I'm now going to turn things over to our presenters today. So Evelyn and Bob, go ahead whenever you're ready.
All right. Thank you very much, Scott. To start things off, I just wanted to mention to you all, it's pretty obvious who is who in the pictures. Those were pictures taken at the faculty meeting back this summer. And I've taught this quantitative research course back when it was 8437, and there was two different versions. One was completely online, and the other had a face-to-face component where in 1 week of the course we met at a residency, and the students participated just doing statistics. It was a course that was an entire quarter of statistics, and we used the textbook Axel and Sounder Pandian. And for the students that came from a physical sciences background or engineering background, or had taken a couple of stats courses recently, they did fine. However, several students who had tried doing just the online version often struggled mightily, and found that when they took the version of the course that had a week-long residency component, they were able to do quite well. So 4 years ago, I met Evelyn at a residency in Minneapolis, and I talked with her about the difficulties that I'd had with students in the 8437, and the fact that after they took away the face-to-face component, I thought that was just too hard on our students, and I got involved in doing some other things, and I stopped teaching the quantitative research course. And so I asked her, how are you getting the students who don't have a good familiarity with statistics to be able to do okay in this course? And she described some of the things that she was doing, and going back and forth with that discussion, she finally talked me into giving the quantitative research course another try. So as a result of doing that, we've tried some new things, and we've created this this discussion that we talked about in the residency, in the faculty meeting this past summer. So we had two main purposes of today's session. The first purpose is to learn how we can use some web-based tool to increase that interactive learning in teaching, similar to the face-to-face component that I had mentioned earlier. And then the second part, if you could advance to the next slide, Evelyn, I think you have the control over that, right? Or maybe I do too. The second purpose of our session today is to permit you to think about tools that you might be able to use similar to the ones we've done, or other related tools in your own courses. So those are our two objectives for today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Evelyn to get into the meat of what we're discussing today.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Thanks to everybody for signing in and joining us today. As Bob mentioned, the two of us have been working on this project for quite some time ago, and really jumped into working on how to improve the quality of the instructional and learning experience for our students in Research 8200. Just this last spring, we were awarded a grant from the Laureate Network to investigate how including some interactive components within this course would benefit our students both in terms of engagement and in terms of learning outcomes. So it's been a really exciting opportunity for us, and we're both really happy to be able to share with you some of our early ideas. It's a work in progress, and we'll be sharing some of the things that we have in store for the rest of the year, and also really curious to hear from all of you some of the things that you use in your own courses. But I'll go ahead and kind of talk you through what it is we're doing and how we got to where we are today anyway. So this word cloud with all the terminology that our students experience when they log into that Research 8200 course, we put it in this slide because we thought it depicted what our students must feel like when they enter that course, and they're kind of overwhelmed with the density of the course. There's a lot of things that happen in those 12 weeks. The first half of the course is devoted to understanding quantitative research design. The latter half of the course is devoted to understanding various statistical analyses, and each week is just jam-packed with readings, with video resources, with assignments that are very complex, and for a lot of our students very new. And so one of the things that we really felt strongly about was there was this need for us to help the students sort of navigate through each week, you know, just to kind of point them in the right direction of, we know there's a lot of stuff happening every week, and of the stuff that's happening, here's a framework to organize it, and here are what we think the salient points within that week are. Okay, so that was one of the things that we were hoping to do with this project. The second thing is, I'm not sure how many of you on the webinar today teach a version of the quantitative research course, but I mentioned that it has several weeks that involve statistical analyses, and even though we use software, we don't teach students how to manually compute things, so we run statistical software packages. We still encounter every semester students who share very freely with us on the student lounge their fear and their anxiety that they have with all things mathematic or all things statistics related. And so the other thing we wanted to do was kind of bring in that live component, assure people that we were, live, caring people, and who were really invested in our student learning. So just to help alleviate some of that anxiety, and also to let them know that we had some we recognized the challenge of the course, and we had built in some extra supports for them. I always like to share this one story. Maybe you notice on our picture, I'm generally perceived as a very nice person, I think. At least that's what people tell me. And one semester teaching this course, I had a student who was very frustrated who requested a phone conference. This was before we started doing the interactive sessions. So I called her and we had a good talk through her assignment and helped her clear up some misunderstandings that she had. And she said, "Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. Until this moment, I imagined you as a monster on the other side of my computer because I hate statistics so much." So, so having had that experience enough times, we felt like we didn't want our students being afraid to enter any course, and particularly not one that we were teaching. And then finally, the other sort of motivator for us was in the doctoral program, in the PhD program, we really feel like there are two main things that students are there for. One is to become deep level content and subject matter experts within their very clearly defined area of expertise. But the second is to become good researchers. And in our current program, we have a pretty strong emphasis on developing that content expertise, either through the CAMs or allowing students some choice within the course-based models that we have in education. And we're still a little limited on helping our students develop that strong expertise in actually both quantitative and qualitative research. And yet, in our thinking, that's, well, I won't speak for Bob, but in my thinking, it's actually the more important component within the student's program, because it's, it's easy to continue reading within your area of expertise to develop and expand your knowledge. It's much harder to develop a strong understanding of the research process without the guidance, I think, of an instructor in a well-designed course. And so we've really felt like, within the program, there's kind of only one opportunity to be introduced and develop a pretty strong understanding of quantitative research at a level that we really feel is necessary for people to then leave and become academics and scholars in their field. And so, when we looked at it, it's like we have 12 weeks to get people as good on quantitative research as we possibly can. And so we both felt really strongly about wanting to ensure a really solid learning experience within those 12 weeks. Bob, I think, is this where I turn it over to you?
Yes. So with that, it's absolutely crucial that now that we have a course that's not only dealing with statistics like the old 8437 course was, but also research design, which is what happens now in 8200. The first half of the course is about research design. It's even doubly important that students who need additional interaction can feel free to be able to do that. And it is an incredibly full course. And so what we found that our first goal that we've been trying to do with this increased interaction is to provide an opportunity for us to clearly communicate to our students what's important in this week. what are the concepts that we really want you to focus on, where are the things in the week of activities that you're doing that you really need to pay attention to, and which things might you be able to pay maybe a little bit less attention to. So emphasizing what they should be doing and helping them to understand that we recognize that they might have to do some prioritization of what they're doing. The course is a well-developed course. There are some resources already provided, videos of how to actually use SPSS, but unfortunately the quality of the video in the resolution, not in the quality in terms of the instruction. The instruction is great, but the resolution of the screens, whenever they did that process, made it so that you aren't able to actually see the data that's in SPSS. So that is our first goal, to make sure that we provide a good setup for each week at the beginning of the week. And then the second goal, moving on to the next slide, is that we're dealing with some pretty difficult concepts. And especially when we get into the demonstration of SPSS, we thought it was very important that we actually show our students how to do the SPSS, as opposed to them messing around and pressing buttons and not knowing which one to do. So we did it for them and then discussed it so that they would then be able to go back on their own and do it themselves. We provided the scaffolding on some fairly difficult concepts. So those are the two main things that we're trying to accomplish with this increased interaction. And basically what it amounts to is that we used a software product called AnyMeeting, which was free at the time we started using it. And just this quarter, they decided to start charging for some of the advanced features. And one of those features that was crucial, we felt, in this course, because we offered this opportunity as a optional, because we couldn't pick a time that we could guarantee every student could be there, we wanted to make sure that we could record the AnyMeeting. And initially the free version had that feature, and now in the latest change, it costs a little bit of money. I think it's like $18 a month to get the version that permits you to do the recording. And because of the project that we're working on that Evelyn mentioned, where that project is actually paying for it. But we wanted to demonstrate to you the AnyMeeting, and I think, Evelyn, you were going to do that at this time.
So if you can all bear with me while I just switch over. As Bob said, one of the primary ways that we have decided to interact with our students is through the use of web-based conferencing sites. And when we had eCollege, we used Illuminate, and the downside on that was we had no audio, but we had the nice whiteboard. And so imagine lecturing through chat, because that's what we did for a very long time. And then when we switched to Blackboard, the features are possible within the Blackboard system, but currently we don't have enough of them available within the Walden structure. And so we looked outside to find AnyMeeting. And what we generally do is meet with our students for about an hour. Sometimes it goes an hour and a half or so, once a week throughout the course, with the exception of the first and the last week. And we either the first several weeks we will provide an overview of that week's focus. So for example, during week 2, there's a focus on threats to validity and the various research designs. And so we because there's so much content in each week, as we mentioned before, what we did with that week is we said, here are the threats to validity, and we talk through what those are. Here are the research designs. Here's how each one of those designs introduces or compromises validity in different ways. And that, what we have found that those do is really help give our students a starting point for then making some sense out of the content. So for some students, we're priming background knowledge. For other students, we're just simply providing a framework for what is new information for a lot of our students. And so where we really find that any meeting just enormously helpful is when we get into the data analysis component and we're running the SPSS software package. Even though the course texts have actually pretty explicit step-by-step instructions, we have still found, there's just something to that visual walking through it as in real time, so to speak, that you just can't accomplish in the textbook. And so this video clip that we have comes from, I believe it's like week 10 in the course, where we're focused on correlations and regressions. And what I'll do is just play a really short snippet from this week's recording.
Right, so that's correlated at 0.232, and we can see, nice job, Cindy and Sharon, and so we can see that the significance level there is 0.105, so it's not a significant correlation. Okay. Okay. I'm going to just show you what these different correlations look like on our scatter plot. Okay, so I ran these earlier today. So here, that was our -1. That's our +1. And so here's what our correlation, this was number of times cited to number of publications. And so let me just double check the number.
So that's just meant to give you an idea of the quality of, there are a few time, split-second time delays in terms of voice and then catching up with the screen sharing. But what we've been able to do is run through, and we will periodically stop and ask questions so that the students are interacting. So you'll see on the left bar there are several students who have logged in with either responses to those questions or their own questions if they don't quite follow something that we're going through. And then as Bob mentioned, what we really liked about the Any meeting was the ability to record the session so that our students who cannot attend because we have it at a time that's not convenient for them can go and watch the recording. But what we've also found, especially on the SPSS weeks, are that even when people attend, they go back and watch the recordings multiple times to help them follow along with the concepts they're learning. Okay. Okay. So as we mentioned, this is all being accomplished within the scope of this Wilson Research Project. We didn't start with this larger project in mind. We just started as, hey, let's try this out and see if it works. And then we're really happily surprised when we were awarded this grant that's going to allow us the ability to look into some other tools because the Any meeting's terrific. It is only one tool that we use. We just started last week integrating the use of a tablet. So we have found to be really helpful when we're trying to explain the results of the SPSS output. I mean, the students watch us run the analysis and we talk through what the findings mean. But last week we were able to just as you would in a live course, write on the whiteboard, in this case our tablet, to illustrate some of the concepts that we were talking about, or where some of the numbers came from, or putting some of the output on the normal distribution so that our students could see the relationship between what was in the output and how that got translated to these other concepts. So it was really funny last week when we tried it. Someone said, I feel like I'm watching a con video, which is exactly what we were going for, because again, with the mathematical concepts, we really both felt strongly that there's something to watching your instructor, actually write on the board while explaining the concepts to help make that connection between the equation or the graph or the normal distribution and the words that are coming out of our mouth. So that's one we're going to, that's one we're testing this semester. We've also included some web-based tutorials within the weeks, and the way we've done that is, there's so many helpful sites out there right now in terms of statistics and research design, and so we found a really helpful web-based tutorial that walks students through threats to validity, and it doesn't just explain them, but it gives these small examples, and then it's an interactive tool for the students to respond to the various scenarios and decide which threat to validity is present. And so we link that to the discussion boards for weeks 2 and 3 because it helps them develop a stronger understanding of a pretty complex topic that we both felt wasn't, all the content's in the existing course materials, but there's just something about the way they were arranged that the students weren't getting it until we put those tutorials in. And we're looking for others that will help with a couple other difficult concepts, like in week 6 when we talk about statistical power. I still haven't found a great web-based tutorial to help students understand that better, although there are lots of applets that allow students to walk through and look at the relationship between sample size and the impact on power, for example. So so we plan to include some more of those in there. We sometimes go old school and have phone conferences with our students. We both have day jobs, so we try to minimize those, and we found those any meetings are really helpful in reducing the amount of one-on-one student support that you have to give, because most of the students have very similar questions. The last thing that we're doing, and we'd really like to try and get this in place for next semester, is trying to find out the best way to have common workspaces for more problem solving within the 8200 course. Each week we're looking at a different statistical analysis, and the students only get one practice with one data set, and then they move on to the next thing. And it's just really not enough. And so what we would like to do is include within the week some other exercises where just data analysis, so nothing that's very lengthy, but to provide a common area where students could work through those problems and discuss them. So we're not creating more application homework, but really just giving students a chance to further their understanding. So that's on the docket, I guess, for next semester. So we were joking when we were putting this presentation together that for all our talk of being interactive, we've kind of blathered at you now for the better part of half an hour. And so what we'd like to do is actually interact with all of you. And we put together a couple questions here that we thought might help us have a broader discussion with this group, where we looked at this as a 3-step process, where the first step was you know, to first be real clear about what goal it is you were trying to accomplish within a course, about, you know, why you wanted to increase the level of interaction with your students. Is it because the content's challenging? Is it because you teach one of the early foundation courses and students need that initial support to feel a little bit more connected than they might otherwise in an online environment? Or are you teaching, you know, one in a series of courses where you may have student groups, you know, from like disciplines, for example, and you're trying to connect students in that regard? So it'd be great if somebody wanted to share with us a course they teach, or maybe some thoughts that they had about why they might want to increase interaction in their class.
And this is one of the reasons why it's good to do this combined, because we can be mutually reinforcing and say, be patient and give people time to think and write. So I know when I try to do something like this on my own, I tend to not wait long enough.
And just as a reminder, you can either click the raise hand button if you want to participate that way and share your thoughts out loud, or just send your ideas in through the questions area and we can see them via text. So either way will work for this.
So we might have a quiet group, which is okay. So,
oh, here comes one.
David. So
David, go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead, Bob.
David has entered the statement, interaction between students at a deeper level might be one of the reasons why he would want to increase interaction.
Yeah, and you know, I know we can all probably regale each other with the small world stories, but the other benefit of doing this as a cross-disciplinary venture was that a student from Bob's section and a student from my section attended the same residency and actually connected because they were both attending these live sessions. And we found that to be really helpful for students to get outside of their discipline, and actually for the two of us to get outside of the discipline. Yeah, I agree. The discussion forums are really more like bulletin boards almost. Sorry, David posted the forums are often not very interactive at all.
We've definitely experienced that with our forums, even in this course. But by virtue of having this interaction that we have, students do tend to type in a lot of questions, especially if we are patient and wait.
So Beth's writing an unrelated question. What do you use to write with? Do you have a bamboo pen or something similar? We just got the Intuit Pro. Bob Googled how to make a Sal Khan video or something like that. And
yes.
Believe it or not, he actually has a video of how he makes his video. And he talks about the equipment that he uses. So we spent some time looking through tablets that were available. And so we have an Intuit. It's by a company called Wacom. And we both use Macs, and they've worked really well. I'm still sort of fine-tuning my fine motor skills. My writing is a little sloppy still on it, but I'm getting there. Oh, yeah. You're welcome, David. So Jeff's got a long comment here. I've taught statistics in a one-on-one setting, and that lack of interaction is a common complaint. They feel like they are guessing a lot and would like some head nods to reinforce at least that they were on the wrong track with understanding concepts. Yeah. Jeff, are you teaching statistics now for Walden? On the right track, okay. Not yet, okay. Yeah, we, you know, there's, when we were looking for other ideas on this topic, we turned to the Journal of Statistics Education, and there's actually quite a few really good research articles that address this topic, and from where we've tried to come up with some of our ideas in terms of supporting our students. So that's a really good resource, and I believe it's an open access journal, and if it's not, I know Walden, you can get it through Walden because I've accessed it. So Bob, should we move on to the next?
Well, I was just going to say that one of the other reasons why I think it's good to try to increase interaction with the course, at least the way we've done it, where there's two faculty members who are both teaching the same course but to different sections. Well, we try to communicate what we think is important. In order for us to do that to our two classes that are coming together, we have to interact a little bit, and we typically do that the day before to solidify in our own minds what's important about this week and what changes have happened to the course. And I've found that to be just extremely beneficial. And everyone's been a great help to me in the first couple of quarters that I've taught this course. And I'm hopeful that we can encourage Walden to encourage or actually allow people to team teach, or at least in doing it in the same way that we are. We're kind of like paired teaching using the AnyMeeting. But we still have to do all our own grading and all our own interacting with our sections.
Yeah,
so.
I haven't convinced Bob to do my grading for me. Kidding. So were you going to talk to this slide?
Right. So one of the things that we thought about, and we would recommend that you think about as well, is trying to find resources that are free. And whatever we do, we want to make sure that we aren't going to be frustrating our management if we get too far out on the limb and are doing great and wonderful and exciting things that our students love and appreciate, but then our administrators are saying that's going a little too far. So the importance, as we think about these different kinds of tools, of checking with our program directors and making sure that they're okay with it is something to keep in mind. Then these last 2 points, there's only so many hours in a day that we as full-time faculty at other universities have that we can spend on this. And so it's important that whatever we get to use as a tool, that it not add to our workload. And finally, accessibility of the tool, not just here in the States, but we have several students that are joining in on this AnyMeeting from Africa, and making sure that it will work worldwide is important. And those who have not been able to, and so far we haven't had anyone who's tried that's not been able to, but if they weren't able to get to it, they could at least get to a recording of it. So.
Yeah, I can, on the managing workload, when we presented this at the August faculty meeting, we made the point that even though it seems like an additional commitment of time, both, you know, we spend the time planning and then executing the live conferences, we both have found that the time saved on grading, because students develop a much stronger understanding and have a clearer sense of how to structure their applications, and is tremendous. So it's well worth the trade-off in terms of workload to invest the time up front so that the students are getting a better quality experience, and it's much easier to grade a paper that's done well than one that requires a lot of feedback and revision. And so we have both found that through these sessions the students kind of get the expectations a lot better than they do when we're only interacting through the course.
And then the last part that we wanted to emphasize is making sure that we don't do too much in any new quarter. So the first semester we just used AnyMeeting. The next quarter we would continue to refine that and adjusted things. And this is the third quarter we've been working together on this, adding the SolCon video kind of thing. So we're trying to make sure that we don't overwhelm ourselves and that we don't do too much, quote, new things for our students. Trying to make sure that we prioritize what we're doing as well as what our students are doing. And then lastly, having some time where we can evaluate how it's working and how it can be done. That's something we haven't mentioned yet, but each week after we've done it, we get together for 10, 15 minutes to say, okay, so how should we change this the next quarter, the next time we go through it?
Yeah, and to me, that's been the part that's been really helpful. We both struggle with, in terms of what our students should focus on, how much of a mathematical understanding should they have, how strong of a conceptual understanding, how much should we focus on application. And so talking through those kinds of questions with Bob, both before we do the session and after, has been really, I found it really helpful in really thinking about, okay, where are we going to focus? So I see that Beth has posted a question. Has Walden looked into Blackboard Illuminate? We punted this to Scott last time, and so we're going to do that again if
Sure, Evelyn. The university is looking at tools that are similar to that. They did roll out Collaborate. It didn't seem like it would meet all the needs. The current look and pilot that the university is looking at is Adobe Connect, which is a similar product. So it's being piloted, but I haven't heard anything else about additional rollout.
Okay, thanks, Scott.
Sure.
And yeah, it is similar to any meeting, and Bob mentioned early on that originally that platform was free to us, the AnyMeeting, and then I think it was just last term we logged on and all of a sudden there was no record button, and so looked into it a little more and saw that they had moved that over into their pay version. So while we're grant supported, we're continuing to use it. Just, I mean, it has the same features, for example, as this go-to meeting, but we've just gotten comfortable with it right now. But we are looking for truly free resources until those are integrated as part of Blackboard. And then Jeff is asking, how do you handle SPSS installation issues? I'm good at punting, so I send those also to either tech support. First I ask, some of the basic questions that, as far as I can go, I'll help a student and at least rule out very simple things, and then I either send them to the IBM support or to our Walden tech support. Bob, do you?
Yes, the other thing that this AnyMeeting has really helped, I think, and I've seen improvement since the first quarter, and that is we remind them on the very first any meeting, get your SPSS working on your computer now. Do not wait until week 7 to do that. So we say that on week 2, and it's amazing just having them hear the urgency in our voice seems to be having a positive effect, as opposed to several announcements about the importance of doing it. I think them hearing us and us reinforcing each other in weeks 2, 3, and 4, by the time we get to week 7, this quarter we had no one telling me in my section, none of my students had any installation issues by the time we got to week 7.
Yeah, I haven't had too much either.
So great question, thanks. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, I've been talking.
This is the time when we were going to offer for you to continue to share your ideas, and you could either do that if you have a specific course that you're thinking of trying this with, or if you have other tools that you've been thinking of using, you've seen someone else use, that you might suggest for everyone here on the call and for us. Hopefully we've gotten you started to think about this for the courses that you're teaching.
Yeah, you're welcome, Jeff. You know, the applications across courses are very different. I teach I don't know how many of you are from the College of Education. I teach our accountability and assessment course periodically, and I've used it in there once or twice, and I don't know what it is. It just didn't really seem to lend itself the same way, and for some reason those discussions are way more active. The course content, I think, is a little bit more streamlined, but I just found it was not really necessary. It was great to do for the first week, and then after that I didn't really have much student interest. And then the one place I have not tried doing a live interaction is in my 7100 shell, or I've lost track of what number that actually is now, with my mentees, and I've been thinking about just having, you know, maybe once a semester a live check-in, because I only actually know personally I've only ever met one of my students, and so, but I haven't yet tried it there either. I know, Bob, have you used?
I have not yet used it, but I'm definitely planning, now that we've gotten comfortable with any meeting, I'm definitely planning on doing that with my 7100 course, because there's also not only audio but video capability. So there's a couple of students that I want to try to get through some substantive things with regard to their proposal, and I think that doing it with a couple of video chats is going to help us get over some hurdles. Dave's asked or made a comment about how it's difficult to schedule real-time events in a course, and how do we pick the times? Well, we just make sure that both Evelyn and I can make it, and then we let the students know, and since we really want to make sure we do it early in the week so that we can give a little bit of feedback on what happened the previous week in terms of grading, and give a little bit of feedback on that, but we wanted to cover and prioritize what's going to happen this week. We've been doing it on Mondays, Monday evenings, East Coast time, 9 to 10. Actually, it's scheduled for 9 to 10:30, but we try to make them feel good when we are able to finish at 10.
Yeah, and David, for us, as Bob mentioned, we didn't have a whole lot of choice just because we both work during the day. I still have kids at home, and so and then with the 2-hour time change, suddenly our range of options was greatly narrowed for us. So And when I did these, I did these by myself for a while before we started doing them together, and a couple times I tried to change when I did them to accommodate people who couldn't attend but really wanted to, and that was a disaster. So just sticking with the consistent weekly schedule since seems to work really well. And again, with the ability to record, we think it helps people not feel slighted if they can't attend, because they can still take advantage. They just can't ask a real-time question is the only drawback. So.
Right, and the other benefit of having two people on the call or participating as instructors is that if one of us can't make it for some reason, for example, Evelyn's going to be running in the New York Marathon in a couple of weeks, and so she's going to be flying back from that and won't be able to make that Monday session. So it is nice to be able to do this and not feel like we absolutely have to be there every single week that we do it. Because our students would be upset if we didn't do it in a particular week. They've gotten used to doing it. So having a backup that each of us has in each other has been very, very good. Any other comments or questions or ideas? I am curious how many of you are teaching an 8200 course. If you just type in that you are, that or have in the past. Peggy is saying she teaches 8200. And which school are you in, Peggy?
In psychology.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay, take that for your game.
Okay. So with that, I think we're coming up to the top of the hour, and so I just want to thank everybody again for logging in, and hopefully some of the ideas and conversation we've had in the last hour is helpful to all of you, and there are email addresses if you have any questions, or if you, or better yet, if you have really good ideas that you'd be willing to share with us, we would love to hear from you. So thanks.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for presenting today. It's been a great session, lots of insight and new ways to help our students in these courses. Also, thanks again also to our attendees for joining us today. Direct your attention over to the questions area. There's a feedback survey link there to get your feedback on today's session, and also space for you to identify other professional development needs you have with your role at the university. As follow-up, we will send an email that contains a link to the recording from today's webinar and a link to the PowerPoint session used in the session. So thanks again, everyone. This will conclude our webinar. Goodbye for now, everyone.
All right, goodbye.